A man named Pasha was driving alone through a wooded area when his tire went flat after rolling over a sharp branch on the road. That was the whole thing. That was the mistake that set everything in motion. No spare tire in the car, no phone signal, nobody else around, and the daylight already beginning to fade behind the trees. He starts filming. At first the tone is light, almost joking about how badly he'd managed to get himself stuck. But underneath that, you can feel the reality of the situation setting in. He's alone, it's getting dark, and the forest surrounding the road is completely silent. After a few minutes of searching, he catches a weak signal just long enough to call a friend. The friend agrees to drive out. The catch, it's a 4-hour round trip. So Pasha sits with the car, walks around, talks to the camera, does what he can to stay calm while time crawls forward and the darkness thickens. Then something moves. A shape in the bushes at the edge of the road. Low, quick, crossing into the headlights. His first instinct is an animal, a stray dog, maybe some kind of wildlife passing through. Completely normal. Until he sees the eyes. Bright red. Glowing. And not reflecting the way a cat or a dog reflects light at night, this was different. The shape stops in the middle of the road, holds completely still, and stares directly at him. Then it disappears into the tree line on the other side. Looking back at the footage, the body was low to the ground and moving on all fours. But what unsettled him wasn't just the eyes, it was the way it moved. Dark, almost no visible coat. Unnatural in its motion, like the mechanics of it didn't match anything familiar. And then he does the one thing you'd tell anyone else never to do. He leaves the car and follows it into the forest. Between the trees, those red eyes keep reappearing, always just far enough away. The creature retreats as he moves forward, but it never fully vanishes like it's aware of him, like it's choosing how far to let him get. At one point it slips behind a tree and simply stops existing. No sound of it climbing, no rustling as it runs, just gone. He makes it back to the car and spends the rest of the wait rewatching the footage, trying to land on something logical. The most rational explanation, an animal with an unusual eye reflection, strange lighting, nothing more. Some even suggested an escaped primate. Weird, but at least it's grounded in reality. What the footage never explains is the movement, or the silence, or why it kept watching him back. Case 2 Lights on the Hill. Kev is a YouTuber based in the UK who takes his dog out on overnight camping trips, calm, easy content. Exactly the kind of thing you'd put on in the background on a Sunday evening. And for most of this video, that's exactly what it delivers. He finds a flat patch of ground near the top of a hillside, sets up before dark, cooks a meal, and lets the dog settle in. Everything is fine, the mood is relaxed, he's clearly in his element. Then, just before turning in for the night, he spots something in the distance. A light, down in the woods at the base of the hill, moving, like someone holding a torch and walking through the trees. He catches it on camera and mentions it almost casually, says it's way too far away for anyone to make it up to his spot. Too much distance, too much terrain in between. He's not worried. He gets into the tent. He tries to sleep. And then the footsteps start. Not somewhere down the hill. Right outside his tent. Slow, deliberate, moving through the long grass in a rhythm that doesn't sound like wind or an animal settling. It's on the audio, you can hear it clearly. Kev goes still. He doesn't call out. He just listens. The sound keeps going. Circling. Then it stops. He stays quiet for a while longer, then eventually tries to get some rest. By morning, everything looks exactly as he left it. Nothing disturbed, nothing taken. Even the dog who had been sleeping right outside apparently didn't react to whatever was out there. Whoever was walking around that campsite in the middle of the night never announced themselves. Never knocked on the tent, never spoke, never gave any indication of why they were there. Whether the figure he saw from a distance earlier made it up that hill somehow, or whether something else entirely was responsible for those footsteps, he never found out. Case 3, The Howls in the Draw. Rachel and Tommy run a channel built around van life and forest camping, the kind of content that's equal parts travel diary and outdoor adventure. But this particular trip took them back to a spot they'd been actively avoiding. The last time they were here, during a storm, they'd heard something out in the trees that they couldn't identify. A sound that was loud enough, strange enough, to make them decide not to come back. But they did come back, and it started almost immediately. The clearing in front of the van was open and calm. But behind it, the land dropped into a low draw, a shallow gully, before rising again into a thick stretch of woods. That was the direction. That was always the direction. They parked, ate, tried to settle into a normal evening. Tommy was mid-conversation when he froze. He said he caught something moving in his peripheral vision, a reflection in the side mirror. A figure, crossing behind the van. Quick, upright, like a person walking with purpose. He told Rachel to stay inside, stepped out just far enough to look, and scanned the area. Nothing. No footsteps, no voices, no branches snapping back into place. Just the tree line and the draw and the quiet. They'd seen almost no one out here all day. One vehicle earlier, an older couple in a red pickup, and nothing since. And then, from the same direction as before, Tommy heard a sound that stopped him cold, something that resembled a child screaming. Not clearly, not unmistakably, but close enough to it that neither of them could brush it past. He thought it could be a bobcat. Those animals can produce sounds that are deeply
But it's from the same area we heard the howls before. Exactly the same direction. Yeah, That I do not like.
No.
I don't want something that sounds like a human in distress, especially a child.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do right now.
Settling in the dark, but the location was the problem. The exact same spot, the exact same draw, the same corner of the woods that had sent them home the first time. Before they could talk themselves into staying, the howls started. Close, then closer. The kind of close where sitting still no longer felt like an option. They packed up and left without debating it, and as they pulled away, they were already saying the same thing out loud: they might not ever come back to that spot. Case 4 alone in the forest. Dan is newer to camping and decided to spend a night in a local forest with a friend named Ree. Nothing complicated: a fire, a couple of drinks, a basic tent setup. Exactly the kind of trip that's supposed to be completely forgettable. The evening runs smoothly. Fire gets going, food gets cooked, and as it gets properly dark, they both get into their tents to wind down. Dan is in his sleeping bag, phone out, planning to listen to something until he falls asleep. Then the whistling starts.
So, someone keeps whistling. We've got the air rifle ready. But someone keeps whistling. See if I can catch it on camera.
I've got a good shot.
They're not whistling now, I don't know where they've gone. They've been shouting and whistling now, haven't they?
Yeah. We had a dog.
Short, sharp bursts of it, coming from somewhere out in the trees. He can't place the direction and can't see anyone. He grabs the air rifle, steps outside, looks around. Nothing visible. He tells himself it was probably someone calling a dog in the dark, goes back inside. But then the footsteps start. Move.
An animal awesome. Can't hear anything now. But it sounded like human footsteps. Mental. I'm just gonna chill. See if it comes back. See if I can hear anything. I'll bring you back if I hear anything. Or anything else.
Moving around the outside of his tent, close enough that there's no real question about what he's hearing. He calls out. Silence. He unzips and looks. Nothing there. He waits. They start again. By the time morning arrives, both men are fine. Nothing has been disturbed or taken. But the first thing Dan does is ask Ree directly, "Did you get up at any point in the night?" He hadn't. So something was out there, moving slowly and deliberately around two people sleeping in a forest. Not running away, not calling out, not doing anything a person with a normal reason for being there would do. Just circling, quietly, in the dark. That's the detail that doesn't go away. This one doesn't involve anything unexplained. What it involves is arguably more frightening: being badly hurt, completely alone, and a long way from anyone who could help. Graham was on a solo hike through dense forest in the foothills of New Zealand's Tatarua Range when he caught his foot on a root buried under dead leaves. He felt the snap before he even registered the fall. He hit the ground and knew within seconds that something was genuinely wrong. He starts filming almost immediately. Not because he's...
I'm on the ground right now. I've stepped down down onto a root and it's given way, and I've heard a snap either in the root or in my ankle, and now I'm in a bit of pain. So I guess this is a really good opportunity for me.
Thinking about content, but because focusing on the camera gives him something to hold on to while the situation takes shape around him. He's calm in a way that's unsettling to watch. He explains to the camera that he's already called out for help and gotten no response. That it's mid-afternoon on a Saturday and there's a real possibility he's the last person who'll come through this trail before nightfall. That he suspects the ankle is broken and that the real pain probably hasn't hit yet. He drags himself toward a fallen branch to use as a brace. He digs out his personal locator beacon, a piece of emergency kit he almost hadn't packed, and activates it. He manages to get a signal through to emergency services. And then there's nothing left to do but wait. The light fades. The pain increases. At some point he hears a helicopter overhead. He can see it through the canopy. He's in what looks like a clearing. He waves. It passes without slowing. That moment, rescue close enough to hear.
I fell over there. The fuck? Like... oh...
As evening approaches, the too far to reach sits with you. Eventually, a ground team fights through the undergrowth and finds him. Medics assess the injury, a fracture along the outer edge of the ankle. Serious, but not the worst version of this story. He gets strapped into a harness and lifted out through the treetops. He makes it out. But the hours between the fall and that helicopter, the silence of the forest, the weight of not knowing if anyone was actually coming, that's its own category of terrifying. Because out there, it doesn't take anything unusual to find yourself in real danger. One hidden route is enough. Case 5. The Whistler. Dan is newer to camping.